Hi everyone, I'm John Matta, and it's great to meet you all. These two articles were a bit of a pleasant surprise for me. I went into this expecting thick and technical academic articles, and was relieved to learn that these were more focused on direct real-world experience and/or were informational in nature. Reflections of a six-time CMO left me with two main takeaways. First, the role of the CMO in the body of work in their orbit is continually growing and evolving, outpacing some of the more traditional C suite roles in major organizations. At first, that work is not always clear. Like many job descriptions, the CMO's roles and responsibilities can be vague on paper, but much more complex when a deeper examination of the company in question takes place. Being proactive and probing in nature is part of how Joe Tripodi has been able to obtain a strong lay of the land before accepting an offer and decisively taking his first steps. Secondly, the skills required are not necessarily rooted in any specific industry. Many concepts, ideas, and even broad goals are transferable regardless of the products or services an organization provides. Marketing, in many ways, is a universal language understood by customers via their emotions towards a brand. The second article, The Evolution of the CMO, did a good job at helping create a timeline to support the idea that marketing in the CMO is always growing and changing. As technologies emerge, so do new challenges, and society and our cultural habits rarely keep to the status quo for very long. So a CMO must be prepared to address the shifts and respond appropriately. As for the advice given in the article, I certainly believe it. Personally, I prefer real-world experience more than purely academic findings when I'm looking to gain insight into something new. Joe's experiences are both varied and successful, so I'd feel quite foolish to ignore or disregard advice or suggestion, such as the kinds of traits a successful CMO would possess. A significant portion of the interview focused on how to get a CEO to understand the scale and scope of the CMO's world beyond just television ads and leaflets. I'd recommend that marketers have open and frank discussions about the intersection of customer experience and the traditional concepts of marketing. Marketers need to be able to show by example, even in pilot projects, what the benefits of a fully engaged marketing department is and how it impacts customer perception on the brand both upstream and downstream through the product development cycle. Internationally, marketers and CMOs must be flexible and adapt to the current cultural norms of wherever you're operating. One can't assume that what works in one region of the world will be a successful recipe in another. And Reflections of a six-time CMO really doesn't address this explicitly, but I feel like it's implied through the due diligence that CEOs must undertake and how Joe kind of explained that. Lastly, I'll touch on ethical standards. I think that one of the key things a CMO can do to hold themselves to an ethical standard is to not overpromise. The plans implemented by a CMO resonate throughout an organization. Take my world of banking, for example. Marketing campaigns lead to changes in application volumes, which in turn impact workforce modeling, and then impacting budgeting process, and then eventually the hiring plan. So one can be optimistic without overselling the chances of success and drastically changing the organization down the line and the decision making that has to take place because of that. Being honest about your expectations can benefit everyone from shareholders to the frontline operations employees. So thank you very much, and I look forward to reading your comments.